going. Well, the British policy really comes down to whatever Boris Johnson said it was 3 or 4 years ago, right? It was Boris Johnson that made sure that there was no change in policy, and the British were going to drag the Americans, whether it was, willingly or kicking and screaming, to ensure that this war did not end. Right? The idea is to keep the Russians fighting. This old joke that we're going to fight to the last Ukrainian. Well, it's said because it's true. The idea is to do to the Russians what the Russians did to us in Vietnam, or what we did to the Russians in Afghanistan, right? Fight to the last Russian. If they have to bring in troops from North Korea or for China, kill them too. But the idea is just to drain the Russians, to bankrupt Russia. And that's not really working out. Well, of course, Zelensky and whoever happens to be British Prime Minister on any given day, and God knows they've had a lot of them, the idea is to make sure that there's no change in that policy that Boris Johnson set out years ago.
I think the case of Ukraine, let me put it this way. The two projects, Ukraine project and Israel project, both are the production of the British Empire, in my opinion.
Without any question. We can't let the president say that the Iraqis have a nuclear program. It's not true. So we took it back out. 2 nights later, I'm sitting on my couch with my girlfriend, who later became my wife, and we're watching the State of the Union address. She was also a senior CIA officer. We're watching the State of the Union address, and the president says, the Iraqis went to Niger, or he said Niger. The Iraqis went to Niger, and they tried to buy yellow cake uranium to make a nuclear bomb. And I was like, oh my God. I turned to her and I said, this is what the war is going to be about. This lie that they have weapons of mass destruction. Tucker humiliated him.
Oh my God.
And he walked right into it.
Why did he even agree to that?
Yeah. Why?
Because the second the camera started rolling, it was just like they were going at it already.
He is so arrogant to think that he just doesn't have to prepare for things like that. And Tucker Carlson is one of the most intelligent people I've ever met in my life.
He knows every little obscure fact
about
every conflict that's ever happened that the U.S. has been involved in anywhere.
That's
like
right.
It's crazy.
That's right.
He knows so much.
And he can do deep dives on all kinds of different issues. So Cruz went in there like, what a fool. He just didn't bother to prepare. Like, you want to launch war on Iran and you don't even know how many people are there. What kind of military planning are you going to participate in?
It's amazing to see people like I told you in the beginning, people like Tucker, people like, lover or hater, whatever your feelings are on her, Candace Owens.
Sure. I've actually begun turning on Candace Owens.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's actually been okay.
Yeah, she hasn't been bad. There's some crazy stuff. I mean,
there's crazy stuff.
The whole thing with God bless her, but she's doing this whole thing on the Macron thing, like
right.
like that's bad.
See,
that's wild
that,
shit.
Like that. Yeah.
And then she, whatever. Yes. Anyways, like so her, Tucker, Elon, even Rogan, like these guys seem to be like slowly starting to like.
I like myself. I think I wasn't meant to be in that marriage after all. I thought I was deeply in love, had a wonderful marriage. I guess I didn't. Not really. I had fooled myself into it. And, there was a bigger reason for doing all this. I probably didn't realize it at the time, but it was to influence another generation of people. And so I've embraced it. Daniel Ellsberg, the godfather of all national security whistleblowers, Dan leaked the Pentagon Papers in 1970 or 71. And the Nixon administration threw everything it had at him. They even broke into his psychiatrist's office and released his psychiatric records to the press. That's why Dan was never charged with espionage, because the Nixon administration sent the plumbers in to steal his medical records. So Dan said something to me once when I was just leaving for prison. It was just a few days before I went to prison. And he said, if there's one thing that is consistent across all whistleblowers, it's that we never make a financial comeback. Never. And I said, Dan, that won't be me. If they thought they were going to silence me, they didn't know me at all. I'm going to embrace this. And I did. People say, oh, you leaked. Yes. And I would do it again today if I had the opportunity.
And Mel Gibson calls it, you hug the cactus.
That's right. That's exactly what it is. Bring it. I gave an interview. My first interview when I got out of prison was to the BBC. And you know, the sun goes down. We're all in these little casitas that are spread all over the resort. You have to have a flashlight, and then here comes a snake, and then there comes a tarantula, and then there's a scorpion, and it's like, yeah. You have to shake out your shoes every day to make sure that there aren't scorpions in there. And you know, I have a tendency to wake up in the middle of the night. I'm an old man. I'm 60. I get up in the middle of the night to get a drink of water or whatever. You can't.
And
May I add something? May I add something that's very topical? It's not just Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Palestine. Just yesterday, I was having a conversation about the border skirmish that resulted in as many as 200 dead between Pakistan and Afghanistan. And the Durand line was drawn by the British. The British created that border. That border is not recognized by any of the tribes. You know, look at the Pashtuns. They have family members on one side of the border, family members on the other side of the border. And the British just drew a line between them. What gives the British the right now, or 100 years ago, or 200 years ago? What gave the British the right to decide where borders should be? And so here we are more than a century later, and we still have problems, deadly, serious problems, because of this British imperialist arrogance.
which do you think the British are doing the same that they've done to themselves, to the U.S. empire?
Oh, I do. I do think so. The British egg us on. The British want us to be the policemen of the world. And they don't really care if it weakens the United States.
Peel themselves away from the Trump thing. And they all like fully endorsed him, obviously.
Yes.
But there's like, it seems like there's a shift happening. And I don't know if it's ever going to be possible for there to be another party, like a third party.
Not a chance.
Like Elon's talking about.
Nope.
But
it's not 1880 anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. No more third parties. Not real ones anyway.
Mm-hmm. But it's wild to see that because all those people have the biggest voices, right?
They sure do.
And it's insane to me that these people in Congress, even Trump, can just go about their days ignoring this, you know, when it's like a very strong undercurrent in society right now.
Yes.
That everyone's
but
talking about.
Don't forget though, Trump isn't running for re-election.
Right, that's true.
I'm not sure
he's got like 1,200 days left.
Yeah. I'm not sure he really cares. I think he's starting to think about his legacy like every president does in the second term. He's thinking about the Donald Trump Presidential Library. He's thinking about that Nobel Peace Prize. And he wants to leave something that's permanent, like the Abraham Accords, for example. I think he doesn't really care if there's a split between the MAGA Republicans and the neocons. It's their version of 60 Minutes, but it's very combative. And I knew it was. Crosstalk, maybe? I forget exactly the name of the show. But anyway, partway through it, the host was getting frustrated with me. And he said, "You are not apologetic at all. You're not showing any remorse. You're not showing any contrition." And I said, "No, I'm not, because I don't apologize.
You should be remorseful. You should show contrition.
I would do it again. I would do it again today, and I would go straight back to prison, and I would embrace that too. So no, if you thought I was going to come on your show and apologize and say, 'Oh, woe is me, I should have kept my mouth shut,' no, that's never going to happen." You know, in the 1980s, CIA Director Bill Casey, this was during the Reagan administration, CIA Director Bill Casey decided to create a domestic division called the National Resources Division. And NR Division does not do traditional spying. It's illegal for the CIA to spy on U.S. soil. But Casey, you know, the notorious criminal that he was actually right on about National Resources Division. He said, look, we've got patriotic businessmen and corporate leaders all over America who are doing business in China and the Soviet Union and Cuba at the time, and all these countries that are called denied areas, denied to us, where we're not allowed to have a presence there. We're not allowed to conduct espionage there. It's too risky. It's too dangerous. He said, let's just hire a group of case officers to interview business leaders, right? We'll just go and say, hi, we're from the CIA. Here's our business card. We know you're a patriotic American.
So they ended up dropping the charge.
He filed a lawsuit against me later.
But because I had immunity, it was just thrown out. And the only fight I've ever been in my entire life.
Wow.
But he also said something that was very intriguing to me, that you're on
The primal diet.
I've only read about the primal diet. I've never really known anybody. I mean, I've got friends who are paleo, and that's not unusual, but primal,
That's raw, right?
raw meat, raw milk. I have a friend who does the whole raw milk thing, but not raw meat. Anyway, I guess you're going to live like 150 years, healthfully, because it's all protein. You're probably all ripped and everything. I'm supposed to remind you to keep Joe's view perspective. That's vulnerability, impartiality, empathy, and wonder. And you know what? After thinking about that, after I first read it,
It's a pretty darn good life philosophy.
I like it a lot. I may adopt it myself. Barrett tells me that you have a birthday coming up on the 4th. You're going to be 34 years old. Oh my God, I was so happy when I was 34 years old. I'm 61 now, so 34 was a
Very long time ago.
But I wanted to wish you the very, very best birthday. I hope you do something that's great and memorable, and you can think back on what a great time that you had. So look after Barrett and little Baron forever as a founder. And again, happy birthday.
It's good to know you.
So I fucking sued him.
Dude, Meta.
Yeah, in the Northern District of Texas. Until Meta just decided they didn't like me, and so everything was canceled. I gave 15
Meta?
speeches. Yeah, we were advertising on Facebook and Instagram,
Uh-huh.
and I had 15 dates. Started in Belfast, went to Cork, Dublin, Waterford, Edinburgh, Glasgow, Newcastle, Manchester.
All over the doggone place.
Right, selling out weeks in advance. Every single seat sold out, sold out, sold out. Every venue.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a break of a week, and then we had 5 nights in London, 5 different venues in London. So I said, rather than go all the way back to Washington for just a week, I'm going to go to Greece. So my girlfriend and I went to
Over the long run, they willingly gave up their empire after the Second World War because they were bankrupt. And that's exactly when the U.S. was ascendant and we were creating our new empire. And so, you know, they're the little brother now to the United States. They prefer to go along for the ride. And the ambassador laughed and said, we get blamed for everything anyway, so we don't care. So everything that happened, it was the United States' fault. And it was the U.S., they turned their backs on us. And the U.S. did this, and the U.S. did that. And then they arrested him anyway. So he got a message out to the U.S. government saying, can you help me get out of this? And we went to Jemima Goldschmidt, his whatever her name was, ex-wife. And she went to Pakistan and asked them if they would release him. And they said no. So, like you, I'm worried about continued disagreement in Pakistani politics that has the potential to spill into the streets, because the Pakistanis have a tendency to get themselves spun up. And people die during demonstrations, and there are attacks against political figures and assassinations, and the country is not known for its transformative, leaders making positive decisions. I'll tell you another thing. When Benazir Bhutto was in exile in Dubai, I went to see her with a senior officer. I went as the note taker, and she lived in this $5 million bill through Congress. Right. I think he probably has concluded he's going to lose the House in the next election. I think Republicans are safe in the Senate, but he'll lose the House. So any big legislative act has taken place. It's done. His big, beautiful bill. That's going to be the end of it. Let me preface my answer by telling you that a few weeks ago,
an obscure pro-Israel journal, scholarly journal, published an article written by the Israeli foreign minister's political director, in which he said that I was a noted anti-Semite.
You,
Me.
because he criticizes.
Because I'm pro-Arab and I criticize Israel's operations in the West Bank and Gaza.
Okay.
Noted anti-Semite. Now, this is something they do on purpose. If you don't toe the Israeli line, you're anti-Semitic, even though you're not.
Yeah.
Or in the case of any Arab, actually very Semitic because you're Arab. So people like Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson was named a couple of weeks ago as the anti-Semite of the year. I know Tucker. He's a friend of mine. There's not an anti-Semitic bone in his body.
Yeah, I met Tucker as well.
He supports Palestinian human rights. That's it.